Hey y'all, it's your old coach Kinsley. Today we're going to talk about interval training.
It's Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley, your award winning personal trainer and nutritionist, here to share her expertise and experience to give you a kickstart on your fitness journey. Let's get started with Coach Kinsley.
Remember to always consult your physician before starting any nutrition or fitness regimen.
When we're talking about interval training, we mean a type of exercise that alternates between a movement and then has some rest or recovery in between. You can do interval training with weightlifting, running, cycling, even swimming. Like you can practically do it with anything.
So, I always associated interval training with doing burpees and jumping jacks and the whole bit, but you're saying I can interval train with weights? That's an interesting concept, Coach. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so what you're talking about would be high intensity interval training, which is super saturated in the market right now. So it would be like burpees for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds, box jumps for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds. That's a pretty common circuit that you might see in HIIT training. So, high intensity interval training is going to be high intensity in the sense where it uses plyometrics. So, lots of jumping, and this is going to really elevate your heart rate and super great for your cardiovascular system because of this. And not only is it great for your cardiovascular fitness, it's very efficient for fat loss.
So, Coach, for those of us out there who don't understand what plyometrics is, can you give us a quick hit on what that means?
So when we say plyometrics, we're talking about exercises that are explosive. So think power, speed, agility, like some of the examples I gave for high intensity interval training, like your burpees with the jump, your box jumps, your squat jumps, maybe just leaping forward are all great examples of plyometric exercises.
So, Coach, those sound all lower body. Are there any upper body plyometric stuff that I could do?
Yeah, so if you do a push up where you like push quickly, release, and then catch yourself again, that's a plyometric push up.
Whoa, like the clapping, the push up clapping thing?
I did some of those earlier today for my workout.
That's awesome. That's something I sure couldn't do.
So all of those plyometrics are going to be used often in high intensity interval trainer because it's intense. So you have these short bursts of intense exercises like plyometrics, and then it's followed up by some rest or even low intensity periods. And it's very efficient way to work out. You get so much done in so little time because with these fast movements, these powerful explosive movements, you can't train them for a long amount of time. So, really, 20 seconds of these fast, explosive movements to 60 seconds is going to be your max, and then you have to rest and you're giving it all. So, this is very, very good workout for people that need very good time saving workout and still efficient for weight loss and, like I mentioned, cardiovascular fitness.
Hey, Coach, I know in previous episodes you mentioned zones one, two, and three for heart rate. Would this high intensity be a zone three or zone two?
Yeah, most people that train HIIT training, high intensity interval training, will land between zone 2 and 3.
Those are definitely fat burning areas. But then I certainly know I can't keep that up very long. So I guess that short interval is just going to sort of exhaust me. I rest and then I go again. And that's the whole cycle of it.
And like I mentioned, you could do this with weight training, yes, but you can also do this with running. So this is where you'd see people like sprint for as long as they can, which is usually 10 seconds, and then walk, and then sprint and walk. So that's also high intensity interval training. But there are some cons to this HIIT training.
Cons to training? I don't believe it, but I guess we need to hear those too.
So the cons to high intensity interval training are going to be a higher risk of injury, especially for beginners, because you're doing these explosive movements that require a lot of body control. It's going to require proper form to avoid strains and injuries, which is why I would not suggest this for beginners.
Would that be something a personal trainer could walk you through in order to get to a next level?
Oh, you know it. I'm a huge supporter of personal trainers. They can help you get to any goal.
That's true, Coach. And we have one of the best ones right here with Coach Kinsley.
Aw, shucks. When you are working either with a personal trainer or maybe more of a group fitness setting, you might want to start with low intensity interval training before going to high intensity interval training.
So, coach, I know that it takes some doing this consistently over time in order to really build up. But as a beginner, I certainly don't think I would be able to hit those zones with that sort of high intensity training. My high intensity training in the beginning would really be low intensity for others. Am I still, if I push myself, am I really getting the same benefit?
Yes, because think about how you felt in the beginning. Did you feel out of breath doing box jumps in the beginning?
All the time.
Right, so you probably were hitting those zones, but your zone has moved since you've gotten healthier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sure does.
Yeah, because anyone, no matter what level, can get a great workout out of a box jump. Whether you're at 6-inch box jump or you're at a 30-inch box jump. Both of those are plyometrics and both of those would be high intensity interval training. But for someone that's really brand new to interval training in general, I would really suggest starting with low intensity interval training.
Low intensity interval training, that sounds a little more doable for some of us out there.
Yeah, this is what I would suggest for beginners, especially if you're still working on form or working on your cardiovascular fitness. Low intensity interval training, or LIIT as I like to call it, is still going to be having a period of exercise and a period of rest, but those exercises will not be plyometrics.
Okay, so describe for us what that would be then.
Instead of plyometrics, weightlifting or body movements would be a really good way to go about this. A traditional LIIT workout is going to be using a step and almost like yoga moves.
So a lot of slower movement so that the form is correct. So I guess you're really working on form in a lit circumstance like you mentioned earlier.
Form and body control. This is really going to help with your coordination, and you might see benefits to your flexibility as well for starting with LIIT workouts instead of HIIT.
For the beginners, hitting those a couple of times a week is still good, or should the consistency sort of be the same as if I was doing HIIT, like 3 times a week would benefit? Or is it more of a recovery time for new clients?
You'll get a killer workout from it if you're a beginner. So I would do it the same routine as you would with a HIIT. Now, for people that are at the HIIT level and love training in this interval style, I would suggest that they add in LIIT training because it's more recovery for them. If you're brand new to working out, do not underestimate the power or the intensity of a LIIT workout because it's not low intensity workout, right? It's low impact. So it's easier on your joints, not necessarily easier on your cardiovascular fitness, depending on where you are.
Okay, so I still have to put in the work to do the movement. It's something I'm going to work up to get into a HIIT training shape, but I still have to put in the work. I still have to do the movements.
And I would suggest LIIT training for everyone. People that are like athletes looking for recovery or beginners that are looking to work up to something bigger. I think there's room for everyone to have LIIT workout. Now, the only con I can give you about this one is that it would require a longer time to get the same calorie burn as a HIIT workout. And because of this, it won't be as effective for rapid fat loss.
But when you're starting out, I guess, does that mean I won't see as much progress? Or again, is it just building towards to the point where I could get to rapid fat loss? But I've got to, again, put the work in at the low intensity or the low impact to get to the high intensity stuff so I can get my heart rate up.
Right. You won't see the fat loss as quickly as you would if you can jump right into HIIT training. But the cost of your joints is very much so worth the extra time. An injury is going to keep you out of the gym longer than anything. So avoid it and do LIIT training first.
That's great advice, coach. Thanks for spending some time with us. Would you leave us with some highlights?
Interval training is where you have periods of work and periods of rest supersetted together, back to back. This can be used in body movements with or without weights, as well as running, cycling, or swimming, for example. HIIT training, where it's high impact, is going to be effective for fat loss and cardiovascular fitness. LIIT training, low impact, is going to be accessible and safer for beginners. You'll still get cardiovascular improvement and fat loss that will take a little bit longer, but you'll be safer in the long run.
Thanks again, Coach Kinsley, for spending some time with us. And don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley. Thanks again, Coach.
Of course. Come back next week for your Fitness Fix.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley. The fun doesn't need to stop here. Email me at coach@coachkinsley.com. You can check on my webpage, coachkinsley.com, and also find me on Instagram at, you guessed it, Coach Kinsley. Your girl. See you next week. Fitness Fix with Coach Kinsley is a production of Greyhawk Enterprise, LLC.